From R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, this is The Retirement.
When you retire, if you want an exciting life, you need a boring investment strategy.
Matters.
If you enter into retirement without a plan for income, you're not retired, you're simply unemployed.
Podcast.
Hey, this is your host, Dale Smothers, and you're listening to the Retirement Matters Podcast. My hope is that you will find the information you need in every single show on how to do one of the three things: either saving more money more efficiently, planning better for your future where you can live in retirement worry-free, or my favorite, how you can live a happy and fulfilled life in this life you have been given. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it listening to this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. This episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast is moving quick, and it is jumping from section to section, covering different topics in each section. The pause for positivity is a powerful one that helps you understand those around you who are always there for you are people you should be thankful for, and you should be letting them know that you are thankful. From there, we go into the inflation news that has came out. This episode was recorded the week of May the 13th through the 17th, and there was some decent inflation news that came out, trying to make heads or tails of what that means for a retiree. From there, we move to sequence of returns risk and what that means for a retiree and how it can impact the effects of your retirement. Just a small little timing of the market can make a great deal of difference due to sequence of returns risk and volatility. We go from that to Social Security and some preconceived notions, maybe even misconceptions that are just not true in claiming Social Security and how those things can impact a retiree. And then we wrap it all up real nice and pretty in a bow with what should be included in a retirement plan and how it differs from just a portfolio. Whether this is your first time listening to the podcast or your 100th time listening to the podcast, we hope you enjoy this episode. We hope that you enjoy the content that we've brought. If there's anything we can do to help you in the process of building your own retirement plan, give us a call at 270-600-PLAN. Also, if you like what you're hearing, we would love for you to like, follow, and subscribe to the show. Maybe even share it with friends who would benefit from hearing it. The more people we can get to subscribe, the more of an audience we can impact with this show, and the more informed retirees will be about how they can retire the way they have desired. So with our introduction out of the way and all the housekeeping, let's just jump into this week's episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well and you are ready to start discussing all things retirement matters. We have got a show that is jammed-packed with information for you, especially if you're considering this idea called retirement anytime soon. If you are looking to retire in the next 4 to 5 years, you need to be concentrating on where we are in the stock market. You need to have your eye on things like inflation. You need to understand when you should be taking Social Security. You need to know all of the choices that you're going to have in Medicare, which we can assist you with. We're going to be discussing things today that are going to pertain to those. We're going to get into the news on inflation that recently came out this week. We're going to help you understand what that means. We're going to get into some information on what we call the lost decade in retirement and what happens if we're coming up on something like that for you in retirement. How do we make sure that you're still okay, that you can still spend the money you desire the way you desire and live without worry of running out of money? I hope to get around to discussing Social Security claiming ages and why it's important to have a good claiming strategy for Social Security. It's not just going in and taking Social Security as early as you possibly can. There's a lot of strategic benefit to making the decision based off of the overall income plan, something we help a retiree go through. And we're going to discuss why the date of retirement and the date of which you take Social Security do not have to be the same. Oftentimes, it makes a lot of sense for it not to be the same day or month. We are hoping to uncover that and a little bit more in today's episode of the Retirement Matters. And if we have time, we're going to discuss the differences between a plan, a true plan, and a portfolio, why those two things are different. But before we get into any of that, we're going to the pause for positivity. Let's jump into this week's pause for positivity with a question. I want to ask you this question. I want you to give some serious thought to it. I'll even pause here for a second. to give you some time to think about your answer. And what I want you to answer is this question. Do you have one person in your life that you could call on in a moment's notice, no matter what time of day, no matter what day of the week, no matter what time of the year, that you could call on them and tell them, I need help, and that they would be there to help you? In whatever capacity it was, no matter what it was that you needed assistance with, that if it was in their realm of possibility to deliver that to you, you know without a shadow of a doubt they would help you. And if it was not in their realm of possibility, they would assist you in getting to the solution you desire. Do you have one person like that in your life? Do you have two? Do you have three? Who are those people? Who is it exactly that you know you could call on and they would be there for you in the drop of a hat? And now I want to ask you this question. When's the last time you told those people or that person that you loved them, that you appreciate them? When's the last time that you looked at that person and said, you are important to me, and I want to tell you why I value our friendship? When's the last time you've looked at them and told them all of the amazing attributes that they have about themselves? When's the last time you told them thank you for being who they are? I have no idea who your person is. I have no idea if you've ever told them any of these things, or perhaps maybe you told them something very similar to this right before you tuned into this radio show. But what I do know is that if you are not taking the opportunity to do this now, you may not have an opportunity tomorrow. Time is a fickle thing. Time has a way of disappearing on us. You know, my father taught me as a young boy that time, unlike money, once you spend it, it never returns. Once you have spent it on or with someone, it will never come back. It's never going to be exactly as it is today. So here's my challenge this week in our Pause for Positive focus, in our Pause for Positivity. Tell the person that you were thinking of just a minute ago, tell them thank you. Tell them you love them. Tell them how important they are to you. Because as we all know, tomorrow is not promised. Is that your husband? Is that your wife? Is that your mom, your dad, your son, your daughter, your grandchildren? Is that your brother, your sister, your friend? Who is this in your life that you know would be there in the moment that you need them the most, no matter what they had going on in their life? Those people are hard to come by. And the older we get, perhaps the fewer of those people we have. I remember my mother telling me one time when I was young, my mom looked at me and said, there's going to come a day where you can count your real friends on one hand. 5 real friends in life. If you have 5, you are truly blessed. Some people have 1. Some people may have 2 or 3. But when the rubber meets the road, do we have any true friends? And if you have one, if that person came to mind right now, during this break, I want you to shoot them a text. I want you to give them a phone call. I want you to shoot them a glance if they're sitting right beside of you. And I want you to tell them, thank you. In your own words, tell them thank you. We're going to be back in 30. No, let's make it a minute. 1 minute. I'm going to give you 1 minute to make that challenge come true right now. And I think you're going to touch somebody's life. You're going to make somebody's day a little brighter because they have made yours brighter throughout your life. 60 seconds. We're coming right back with more Retirement Matters after this.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. If you'd like to listen to past episodes and find exclusive content and full-length interviews, search for the Retirement Matters podcast on the podcast platform of your choice, or visit us online at rdswealth.com. Unfortunately, for many retirees, they're simply trading in the stress of work for the stress and worry about their financial future. At R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, our goal is to help build you a retirement plan that provides a smooth transition away from the time clock and into the time of your life. So even if you're still waiting on work retirement, we want to help you retire now from the worry of retirement funding. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. I hope you followed through on that challenge. If you did not, please do that this week. I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, tell the people that matter to you the most that they matter. Because at the end of the day, at the end of your life, all that is going to matter are the people that are around you. Man, it's hard to think about, but sometimes it's a struggle to find those final 6 people that will pack you to your final resting place. You know, a lot of times it's family members. Sometimes it's people that really cared about you. If you live a long enough life, perhaps you're the last one standing and you don't have many at all. And life is a beautiful thing, but we are not promised tomorrow. And so I would ask you, and I would challenge you this week in our positive focus to live life to its fullest. All right, now with that out of the way, let's make this a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more upbeat. Let's talk about inflation. And you think, wait a minute, inflation's not a good thing. Why in the world are we transitioning now to inflation? Well, inflation's going to impact a lot of retirees. And there is a measure for inflation called CPI. We have covered what the CPI is in previous shows, but as a quick recap, I want you to realize it is measuring the price of a basket of goods, a certain basket of goods measured year over year, and how quickly or how slowly the price of those goods are increasing is how we measure inflation. Now, you're going to hear on the news that the CPI came in at a better number than it did last month, and that we were pleased with the CPI. The CPI fell, meaning the price of goods are rising a little bit slower. But notice what I said. They're rising slower. It's not that they're going down in price. They're just rising at a slower rate than they were last month. And they're still over 3% higher than they were last year this same month. What does that mean? Well, that means that prices are going higher because of inflation, but they're not going as high as they could have went if inflation was worse. They're going higher at a slower rate than they were expected to go. Now, this may be a good thing for the stock market, specifically those who are trading in the stock market, understanding that a lower CPI increases the chance of a rate decrease, and a rate decrease increases the chance of stock market increases. But for the sake of radio, we won't go into the weeds on that. And I also want you to realize that as a retiree, you should be seeking to detach the success of your retirement from the success of the stock market. You should be looking to understand you can go to the grocery store anytime you want to and be okay. Buy anything you want to and be okay, no matter what the stock market or the CPI is doing that particular time of the year. So inflation being measured at a lower rate, a lot of times we may think, oh, good, prices are headed back down. But in reality, we don't see that take place until we experience something called deflation, which is a realistic phenomenon. It just doesn't happen nearly as often as inflation does. But whether there's inflation or deflation, whether there is a stock market increase or a stock market decrease, one thing that is for certain is that if you are looking to retire, you need to build an income plan that accounts for the effects of inflation. Imagine that we could get in a time machine and take a $100 bill back 100 years. That $100 bill would be worth a whole lot more than it is today. And imagine we could take that same time machine and travel 100 years into the future. And then imagine that 100 years from now, they know what this $100 bill actually is and that they're still using this type of stuff. I would imagine that that $100 bill is a lot less valuable then than it is today. This is the power of inflation. It's the same reason why
Minimum wage back in the 1980s would have bought you 1 hour of minimum wage would have bought you 6 Big Macs. But now 1 hour of minimum wage will buy you not even 1 Big Mac in some cities. This is because of inflation. Inflation alone can erode your purchasing power. You can think of it as a tax. You can think of it as a negative interest rate. But however you think of it, just be sure you think of it. And be sure that you account for it on your retirement income plan. If you don't know how to do that, we can help you. 270-600-PLAN. We'd be happy to sit down with you and show you exactly what that means for your money, making sure that you're not running out of money in retirement, or that if you are on the journey towards running out of retirement, we can make the right adjustments along the way to ensure that you never do. This is what we do on a daily basis. Accounting for inflation in your retirement income plan is extremely important. And if you're not careful, not only will inflation eat your lunch, potentially something called volatility could take your lunch money as well. And we're going to cover that right after we come back from this short break. 30 seconds. We're coming right back with more Retirement Matters after this.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. Dale is the founder and president of R.D. Smothers Wealth Management. We specialize in building retirement plans that allow you to walk away from the worry of running out of money. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's jump into this thing called volatility and why it's important for you in retirement. We talk a lot about how it can make averages lie and all of these things about what volatility is. But I want to put some actual numbers to it. And I want you to see how volatility and something specifically we call the sequence of returns, or how that volatility is delivered to you, in other words, how that can impact your retirement. And before we jump into the words and numbers of it all, I want you to understand it by a story to illustrate how timing of anything can impact the outcome. I want to take you back to last year when my son was playing football. He was playing pad football where they actually tackle. He's 7 years old, but he's a pretty tall 7th grader and he has pretty good hands. So he was playing up with the 8 and 9-year-olds. And he was playing this football across the state. We were traveling just about every Saturday for a few Saturdays. I had the privilege of coaching him. And I remember us putting in a very good-sized lineman who we told, if he doesn't get the quarterback this time, he is going to set the bench the rest of the game. He hadn't been playing quite as good as he should. We crawled his case a little bit and said, you're capable of getting this quarterback every time. Go get him now. He was our defensive lineman. What just so happened that the offense at that time had put in a kid who hadn't played, not knowing that we were putting in one of our biggest linemen. He put in a child who had not played much all game, and for good reason. He was a little kid, and he put him on a place that he thought, well, it can't hurt anything, and he threw him on the line. Well, come to find out, those two individuals matched up head-to-head, and you can imagine who came out the victor. You had our child, not my boy, but one of our team players, who was not only determined to get the quarterback, he was threatened that if he didn't get the quarterback, he was going to set the bench. And then you have the only thing standing in his way between him and the quarterback is a child who is half his size and stands no chance of withstanding this incredible pursuit of the quarterback. Well, come to find out, as soon as the ball is hiked, the player on our team decides to immediately literally run over this child who has just entered into the game. And by the end of the play, that child who just came into the game is now wanting to sit down and never come back in to this game. We saw this unfold, and at the time we were concerned for the child. The little kid was actually hurt. It was the first play he had actually played all game, and he got hurt. His game was over. And it was all because the child on our team, we had told him, now's the time. Now's the time to do your best and get to the quarterback. In retirement, we can draw this parallel to realize that sometimes the timing of when we retire is kind of like walking into the game, first play of the game as a child, and you're staring down a child that is twice the size of you. You have entered into retirement hoping that this is going to be a fun experience, and it doesn't take long to realize the cards are stacked against you. This is how we see a lot of retirees entering into retirement. They are unfortunately the smaller child, not the bigger child, and timing hits them really hard and really fast. What do you mean by that, Dale? Let's put some numbers to it. I want you to think of a retiree who retired back in the year 1999. In the year 1999, very similar to today, technology was leading the stock market. It was all about technology. Every company was a technology company. Just about every company that was doing anything big in 1999 and 2000 were tech companies. We call this the dot-com bubble that began to form, and by 2000 was beginning to pop. But it popped so quickly that people could not react. And had an individual retired in 1999, putting their money into the S&P 500, the largest 500 companies in the U.S., and drawing just 5% per year for income, by the year 2015, they were broke. They had no more money in their account. Let's put numbers to this. Imagine that individual retired with $500,000, and they pulled 5% per year off $25,000 per year and adjusted that $25,000 to offset inflation. By the year 2015, they had no money in their account. You think, wait a minute, Dale, the S&P 500 averages almost 6 or 7% rate of return. How is it possible not to be able to draw 5% out? It's because of volatility, and it's because of something called sequence of returns risk. How your 5 or 6% average is delivered to you matters. Well, Dale, how do we make sure that we aren't caught off guard by this timing of the stock market? I don't want to have to wait longer to retire. That's not necessary as long as we balance the portfolio correctly to offset the effects of volatility. The goal here is to not have to sell securities at a loss. And had you have retired in 1999 or 2000, you went through 4 very bad years in 2000, 2001, then 2008, 2007. Some of these years took many years to recover from. And if your portfolio was not balanced correctly to offset this market volatility, you could have seen yourself losing money substantially. This sequence of returns risk or this market timing could have had you standing with no chance of ever winning the game. This is why it's important for us to mitigate the effects of market volatility, having pools of money that do not react negatively when the stock market goes down. Having money invested correctly to where even if the market is down, your income plan continues. And I'm not talking about putting money into an annuity and turning on lifetime streams of income. I'm talking about having money in places to where when the market is down, you do not have to put your life on hold. You can continue to live and do the big things that you have planned for that year. We can help you know how to do just that. 270-600-PLAN. We'll get you in touch with our team. We'll sit down and we'll start building a retirement income plan that you can depend on and invest your money correctly for you in a way to support that income need and live the lifestyle you desire in retirement. We do this every single day for retirees and those who are looking to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. We can help you as well. If you're over the age 59 and a half, you need to be getting in touch with us and getting real serious about your income plan. We're going to come back and we're going to be discussing Social Security. We're going to be discussing why Social Security oftentimes is misunderstood, that Social Security retirement date and the date in which you retire have to be the same. This is not the case. And we're going to hit that head on when we get back after this message.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. If you'd like to listen to past episodes and find exclusive content and full-length interviews, search for the Retirement Matters podcast on the podcast platform of your choice, or visit us online at rdswealth.com. Unfortunately, for many retirees, they're simply trading in the stress of work for the stress and worry about their financial future. At R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, our goal is to help build you a retirement plan that provides a smooth transition away from the time clock and into the time of your life. So even if you're still waiting on work retirement, we want to help you retire now from the worry of retirement funding. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. I want to hit something directly that I have experienced just this week. When a client sits down in front of us, or a potential client, someone we're working with, and maybe is discussing the idea of partnering with our firm to assist them in retirement planning, helping them follow this entire journey all the way through from the date that we meet to the date that they go meet their maker. We assist a client in their journey. And one of the biggest things we help them do is figure out when to take Social Security. We sit down with people often who will look at us and say, well, I want to retire at 64, Dale. I don't want to wait till 67 to take Social Security. And whenever we start asking questions, we realize that a lot of times there's a misconception around the fact that you can retire from your place of employment and not have to take your Social Security. Sometimes, many times, it makes sense to do that. If you want to retire a little bit early, maybe you work a little part-time work, or maybe you don't work at all. But it doesn't mean that you have to start taking Social Security right away. There are a lot of factors that go into this, and whether or not you should be taking your Social Security the date that you retire, something we could certainly sit down and review together. It needs to be inside of a well-written plan. But what you don't need to really assume is that the date in which you retire, you have to start taking Social Security. You don't need to think that, well, man, I would really like to walk away from work, but my Social Security is not high enough right now. I need to work just a few more years so I can get my Social Security higher. Have you really looked at what your income target is? Have you really mapped out how you're going to get to that income target? Maybe you've saved up enough funds right now to get you from where you are to your Social Security date. At that time, Social Security could very easily fill your entire income bucket. We held a Social Security class, and one of our students came in, and we began going through his Social Security claiming strategy. And very quickly, we realized that it would make sense for us to work with one another, because we were going to help him claim Social Security right away. He was going to help bring his wife home because she could bring in Social Security from his Social Security. And then they had a young child in home, at which point they could take Social Security for him as well. This began to all work together into a true income plan. He was able to hit his desired income way before he ever imagined it was possible, allowing him to spend more time with his family and ultimately more money with his family. You know, we're not like a lot of advisors that say you got to defer to make Social Security the best it possibly can be. There are a lot of factors that go into this. And before you make your own decision, let us run some numbers for you. Completely free of charge, we would sit down with you at no cost or obligation and help you understand where Social Security plays into your ultimate game plan. If you have very few investment assets, then taking Social Security may be your only choice. But if you're over the age of 59 and a half, and you're starting to really consider this idea, when am I going to take Social Security? When am I going to need to take Social Security, especially if you're 62, 63, and you're like, man, Dale, I really would like to retire, but I don't know about health care. How am I going to afford that? And what am I going to do with Social Security? Let us know, because we can sit down with you and we begin to map out a plan specifically for you and tailor make this plan to fit your needs. 270-600-PLAN, no cost, no obligation. We would sit down with you, spend about 30 minutes to an hour mapping out what you need, and then ultimately if a partnership becomes a reality, we're here to help you with that as well. 270-600-PLAN will get you in touch with a member of the team. And from there, we'll be sitting down together to build your retirement plan and make sure that it's getting you where you want to go. With that, let's transition to the last little bit of information I want to deliver today, which is the difference between a true income plan and a portfolio. We see a lot of people who come into the office and say, yeah, Dale, I've got an income plan, or I've got a investment plan, or I've got a retirement plan. I like those. Yeah, I've got a retirement plan. And when we begin to help them understand what a true retirement plan should have, they look at us and say, Dale, maybe I don't have a retirement plan. Maybe we should discuss exactly what needs to be in a retirement plan. And so we begin to lay out exactly what needs to be in their plan. And I'm going to give you a real quick Reader's Digest version of that right here. A true retirement plan should cover your income, where it's coming from, how you're getting it, how long it will last. When should Social Security be taken? How do we pay taxes as little as possible to the IRS, keeping as much of that possible money in your pocket, not in theirs? How do we understand what Medicare choices should be taken? A, B, C, D, the alphabet soup of Medicare. We should help you navigate that inside of a retirement plan. What about long-term care? Making sure that the farm is not taken in the event of a long-term care event. A retirement plan should lay out your legacy goals and make sure that the investments that are invested are carried out in the proper manner to get those monies to who you want them to go to as tax efficiently as possible. And one of the last things that a retirement plan should be covering is where you're investing your money. Of course, it is important, but it is not the only thing. Far too many firms are leading with the investment plan and never actually understanding what your true goals are or what you need inside of the entire plan. It's more than just investing. It's more than just a portfolio of mutual funds. If you need help building a true retirement plan, give us a call, 270-600-PLAN. We would love an opportunity to sit down with you and show you how building this plan correctly can lead to you living a retirement you have always imagined. So again, 270-600-PLAN, and we hope to talk to you very soon. But until then, always remember, save money, plan well, and live happy in retirement. God bless.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Artie Smothers Wealth Management are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Artie Smothers Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Artie Smothers Wealth Management.